Hi there. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about the causes of suffering in yoga philosophy and how we can use them right now. So yoga philosophy teaches that the main cause of suffering is ignorance. The Sanskrit word is avidya, and this doesn't mean ignorance in the way that we tend to use it, where we don't know a lot about math or science or things that we learn in form. But it's ignorance that we don't know who we really are, that we're not aware of our true nature. And they say in yoga that there is nature, so there's this physical part of us that's moving and constantly changing, the physical body, the mind, the emotions, the energy, changing. And then deep within, Dharma sometimes calls it the backup light, the backup bliss. There's the actual source of life, this pure consciousness that perceives through the body, but it doesn't change. It's the one that's watching, that was watching you, when you were a baby, watching the thoughts, when you're a child, watching the thoughts that you had as a child, and then as you grew up, watched you become a little bit older, watched everything you went through. But it's not affected by the changes in the physical. And the second cause of suffering in yoga is egoism. So because we don't really know who we are, we're not aware of this energy that's animating us, we identify with things that are impermanent. We're identified with our physical body, we're identified with our possession, with our family, everything we have. And the teachings of yoga tell us that as long as we identify or look for happiness outside of us, we'll suffer, because everything outside of us is impermanent. Everything is constantly changing. So the key to yoga is to actually learn how to connect to something inside of us that isn't changing, that's eternal. The text described the true self as being of the nature of bliss, eternal bliss. And the practices help us to connect to this, so we have this inner happiness that helps us to navigate through different times without needing situations to be different than they are. We'll still feel pain, but suffering is when we wish that things were different than they were, when we have a mental reaction to the pain. So instead of just, there's pain, allowing it to be there to move through the system, the mind kind of grabs on and holds. So right now there's an opportunity. A lot of the external sources for happiness have been temporarily taken away from us, and we can start to look at connecting to deeper sources of happiness and even simpler sources of happiness that may not cause harm to others. So still on an external level, it's still in form, but something like singing, connecting, talking, these things that we can do that have no cost to someone else. There's no, negative impact on the environment if we sing. I'm not going to say that. Unless your singing's terrible. That's not true. All the singing, sing. But eventually, through the practice, if we take advantage of this time to slow down the mind, so we can become still enough to experience what's actually causing our heart to beat, and that force that's breathing through our body without us having to do anything, then we can connect to a state of peace that's always there, despite eternal circumstances, and gives us the strength to go through situations with presence and with peace. Someone had said the other day, there was a poem someone was reading to me, Tosha Silver was reading a poem about how it's like the engine has been turned off, this engine of this constant busyness, rushing around, having to do all the time. And I was thinking it's almost like there's two engines. So there's the source of life, this flow of life that's moving through us. And then because the ego wants to control everything and has ideas of how things were, there's this extra engine put on top that's often not in alignment with how nature means for us to flow. So the external engine is off for a while right now, But we can take this opportunity to go inside and to see if we can find the bliss that's in there that doesn't need anything external to strike it. And the practices that help with this: meditation, pranayama, yoga, and knowledge, lots of yoga knowledge. So I'll continue to share lots of these talks on Instagram, different forms, and please, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me and do your practice. I know it can be tempting when we're inside and we're trying to find ways to entertain ourselves, watch Netflix all day or do that. Go ahead, like watch a little Netflix from time to time, but then also we kind of have this opportunity to be like the old yogis that lived in caves and really become quiet and still and see what really matters. Who are we really? Hope you have a beautiful day.